Hey, America. So now America's serious. Now things aren't so funny. Now the media wants to lower the temperature all of a sudden, huh? Well, before I get into my rant, and I won't smile for this part, but rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. Again, I said this in the last videos. I didn't even agree with a lot of his points, but as someone who is championing free speech on American campuses, no less, and then got the ultimate journalistic award, pretty much the ultimate patriot award, unfortunately. I just want to say rest in peace to him, and blessings to his family and anyone who personally knew him. Now that aside, now things aren't funny. For the last all of my life, it's been just it's been like a cafeteria lunch fight of just the Democrat Republicans just throwing shit at each other, and everyone else is in the middle. Then they laugh about it, they snark about it, they get their funders, they take care of themselves and their donors, and then they just put fuel. And then this, oh dude, I'm good. I should probably start this over, to be honest. I thought this was going to be a quick video. This is going to be kind of a long video. So today I'm going to be going over the Charlie Kirk aftermath, his assassination and the aftermath afterwards, and the passing of a generational torch. There's definitely this event is going to go down in history as the passing of a lot of things. So before I even get to, I have a list over here about how we got here and the core issues. But before I get into that, it's the passing of a generational torch because the boomers held a lot of hard power. After World War II, America was the dominant superpower because of mainly economic reasons. If companies have to pay us back for helping in World War II, but also, we just became a powerhouse after developing our own infrastructure and country, and then just racked it up with technology, which has been great. So boomers under the Great Generation held a lot of the hard power. The most obvious one to see is politically. I mean, hell, we've had a boomer president for what, like 2 generations at this point. So that's going to pass the millennials more than anything. Gen X, unfortunately, Gen X has some hard power, but not as much as the boomers. Even they would admit that it's kind of a generational thing. So that's passing the millennials, and rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. But he was the millennial to kind of symbolize that passing of the torch. So you're going to be seeing that a lot, and then also I just want to say Gen Z. I'm barely a millennial. I thought I was Gen Z all my life until like 2 years ago, but Gen Z is turning up the heat politically. Millennials were known for the technology that just came to us. I mean, the internet was, born in like the 90s and 2000s, and so we just had to learn how to adapt, and that was just our life. But Gen Z, y'all got the political gene, and as a history major, it's a little dangerous to see. Like Nepal just got thrown over by Gen Z, like Gen Z people, aged people, which as a history major is cool, but hopefully World War III doesn't start. Knock on wood for that news. So yeah, so I just for Gen Z, so millennials are going to get a lot of the hard power soon, and then Gen Z is actually going to dictate probably the next 10 years of key events. They're coming to age, they're entering their 20s, they're becoming young. They have more freedom to do what they want and impose their wills, and so we're going to be seeing them a lot the next few years. The easiest one to see is Nick Fuentes. He's kind of the vacuum that was created after Charlie Kirk. A lot of it went to Nick Fuentes, and it's funny because Charlie was moderate. Nick is much more radical. So, anyways, let's go on and get to how we got here as a society. How we got to all of a sudden people don't want to laugh. Oh, So now we're serious. You know what this is? This is I'm a history dude, so obviously I'm a little biased, but this is people not knowing their history. Like, we've lived in a privileged society since World War II, and we're going to continue to probably live in a society unless World War III pops off since World War II. But when it's one of my favorite quotes is the tree of liberty must be. It's from Thomas Jefferson. He was a hypocrite but a genius. But the tree of liberty must be watered from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. And unfortunately, a couple days ago, we lost one of the Patriots. But I think a lot of tyrants are going to metaphorically bleed from this event. So, in a way, the tree of liberty is back. Welcome back, America. As I said in the last video, welcome back, America's spine. I would say we haven't had a spine really since like it, and I'm not talking like militaristically or anything. I'm talking about the American silent majority with their government. We've lived in such a time, even 9/11, like 9/11 was awful, but it was one event. Like on American soil, we're very spoiled. So, welcome to having your spine back. So, all right. Anyways, how we got here. So, I want to go back to 9/11 just because that's what I remember. That's what I was alive for. And then I can track since then. So even in 9/11, the Democratic Republican Party was already terrible. Like I remember going to my mom's side, they're Italian. I remember going to my mom's side and they were screaming, dude. Imagine a room full of like 30 adult Italian Americans just screaming at each other. And there's a lot of women on my mom's side. So there was like one guy named Ben, and then just like a bunch of women just tearing because he was a Bush supporter, just tearing him down. And it was like that. So the two party system was already radicalized in the early 2000s. Then 9/11 happened, and again, I lean conservative. CNN did the best job during the Iraq days. They're the only ones that didn't push a war hawk agenda, which is exactly what Fox is notorious for doing. It. Yeah, look at the donors for those defense contractors. So all the legacy media went gun ho, because everyone loves a war. It's not what I mean by everyone loves war, I mean like views, like radicalization. Even like wartime presidents like Lincoln and Washington aren't perfect, but because they won the wars they were in, they're favorite 1 and 2 for presidents of all time, both of them, every time. And even like you could put Roosevelt in there too, even though he died at the end. But so that was the media in the 2000s, and it culturally shifted with Republicans going crazy over Obama. So looking back, honestly, I think the Democratic Party was much more of the healthier one during my early years. But so you had the war hawk media for not after 9/11, with the exception of CNN, even though they were part of it too. But looking back, I think they did pretty good. Once Obama came around, Republicans lost their shit. If everyone remembers, Obama was from Africa. Obama was gay, which I've actually heard that one like recircle recently, but it's just a rumor. Michelle being a man, Big Mike. Even I've like the Big Mike. Even I've made jokes about the Big Mike thing. But at the end of the day, it just keeps pushing this fire. The one I remember, which is funny that it's not funny, but Trump became president, is it was Trump who actually said like, "Oh, Obama's from Africa," and like everyone started making up about Middle East ties because, and a lot. Let's call out the elephant in the room. That was because mostly of, I would say, historic. Yeah, I know I'm sounding like historic racism. And not like the Jim Crow levels, and not like, and racism is a thing that will always exist as long as there's races. It's just, we need to be aware of it and be able to talk about it. So I think a lot of the chaos around Obama was because of a lot of the older Republicans and the race factor, just even as a white man being real. So, the media loved Obama. All right, the media loved Obama with the exception of Fox. Just that Fox probably started like the little of a flame. So the flame was already there. Fox, after Obama won, fanned it by putting all just dogging on it. And then Trump came around, and Trump, love him or hate him, he is he's a master of the camera. You can't even deny it. And I mean, it's in his blood. He was hosting The Apprentice. TV was his life. So he's a master of the camera, and the I I'm gonna cuss real quick. The fucking the horrors of the media couldn't shut up about it. Trump probably wouldn't have won if the media didn't give him a platform. And that happened in 2016. And then after Trump did do the upset with against Hillary Clinton, the media after that is when, in my opinion, intelligence agencies got involved. And then that happened. So after that, so then all right. So then COVID starts, right? COVID starts. who is the voice to listen to during COVID that blew up, that was getting around censorship at the time? Oh, it's the Fear Factor guy, fucking Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan was already on the rise, but he blew up during COVID because it's kind of like, honestly, it's like anything else. When there's censorship after 2016 around COVID, it created a vacuum, and the vacuum went to Joe Rogan. So then Joe Rogan exploded, and you had all these comedians that circled him. You had these fucking Theo Vons, which I'm a fan of these comedians, and I'm a fan of them. And they were a part of, I would say, the most recent election in 2024 that helped combat censorship. Which again, censorship is the hell. It's been a problem since 2017, but they're not policy experts. So this is where I agree with Bill Burr, where a lot of these comedians who are just circling around the soapbox that Joe Rogan rightfully got for podcasting, but politically, Joe Rogan's not a politician. And so you have all these fucking dumbasses who never read a history book, who the only history they know is from Shane Gillis, who loves Shane Gillis, and he does know his history. But you have all these stupid motherfuckers who don't know anything about policy, economics. Like, I love them for their comedy, but they're retards. So you have all these retards who now are the voice of politics, and they're, so then you have the left since 2016 just going fucking crazy, saying like, stop Nazism, stop Trump, stop fascism. Everyone's a Nazi. Everyone's a Nazi. Then you got the fucking right over here that's just dumb. Like, the thing about the Republicans that always has got me. Again, even as a kid, like I lean more right on a constitutional level. Like, I'm constitutionalist, really. But on a lot of social aspects, I lean left. But the right is dumb. They are so fucking stupid. Like, there's been so many times where I just think, if Republicans just did nothing, and I know people say, oh, do nothing Republicans, but if they actually did nothing, it would the problem would usually fix itself. Or the Democrats would like put a wrench in the back of a bicycle, and fall over and crumble, and then they could do what they want. But they can never fucking do it. So Republicans are dumb. And like, okay, sorry. So on a technical level, not even just how I feel about them, but on a technical level, one, they're war hawks. The legacy Republicans are all fucking war hawks. So, that's a lot of the Middle East activity the last 25 years. And then also you got legacy Republicans who are the evangelicals who are very into religion, which I'm a Christian too, not a perfect one, but I'm a Christian. You have all these separation of church and state. So even the Republicans don't uphold the Constitution to the level that they get credit for. So you have both of these guys fanning the flame for years. And Charlie Kirk, what's sad about Charlie Kirk is he was one of the only guys bringing dialogue to the, like, I'll say it, the lower middle class. Like, that's where I come from, like lower middle class. He was the only one going to them because Trump isn't going to go fucking talk to college kids on a level like that. No Democrat's going to go talk to them on an open discourse. So that all happened, and then so that happened with comedians and COVID, and then I would say, like, I think trying to kind of term the last 10 years, I would call it a cold big tech civil war. If like, I hope I can coin that term. I'm going to title this chapter that cold big tech civil war, because now what you have is two ecospheres of technology. You have X, and you got what was the other one, Threads or whatever. You got the others, the legacy stuff, Facebook. You got YouTube, you got Rumble, you got these separate spheres, and then things escalated all of a sudden that we were, so let me go on the social level. So on the social level, every Republican's a Nazi, right? Right media. Every Republican's been a Nazi since 2016. And on the right, not every trans dude trans chick deserves to die, or doesn't deserve it at all. Or like the one that I will give the last commenter credit, that this is the one I disagree with, as far as like a girl getting essayed and having to carry it. I don't agree with that. They should have that choice. That's not, I mean, it's a very hard conversation, but I personally think, under the 2-month term, no, absolutely not. Especially if it was forced. What the? No, it's medieval. That's what it is. It's medieval. So both sides all of a sudden want to stop. So now we get serious. So I just wanted to rant about that. I had to rant about that because it cracks me up that all of these fucking media personalities and comedians, and there's like exceptions, like Breaking Point's pretty middle, like they find common ground. But all these fucking comedians and legacy legacy media and all these fiery personalities all of a sudden, I didn't know the guy, and I know I threaten him on a weekly basis. Or Republicans being like, oh, how could this happen? It's not like assassinate. Like Republicans didn't deserve this, obviously, but like they have the. I will admit they have the upper hand now. Like on a moral level, which is what society usually votes on, they have the upper hand now because at least they were open to have the discourse. At least as far as what we're being seen, and when one side shuts that door, that's it. So they have that, but they're not perfect either. So, anyways, I want to get into some core issues here. One is tribalism. I'll make this short. Tribalism's been an issue forever. That's why it's called tribalism. But in America, it's been very obvious since I would say since Obama. I think that's a lot of again, I would say like a legacy level, and then a lot of it's unconscious. I bet, like it's not even conscious, but there's an unconscious level of like institutional racism that there was a disruption to pass that torch, which I'm sure my generation will have something too. But so you had that. Then you got the monopolies of big tech. The big tech with Google. Google was already monopoly, but after Obama is when they started. They were already funding, but that's when from 2008 is when Facebook started, roughly 2005, 2008, and so that's when social media really accelerated. And when it accelerated, it created monopolies in the industry that were all politically aligned left. So you had a political big tech monopoly that advanced over time. The other one is viewership bias. So viewership bias, everyone wants to click, everyone wants to click. I'm hoping this gets 100 views, but we need reliable information. We need more logic and less emotions. And humans are emotional beings. That's actually one of the things I learned in therapy. I did go to therapy for a year. I went for some trauma, that specific trauma that I knew I had to deal with. But one of the things I learned is psychologically, we're all still like pretty much monkeys. Like we're not monkeys, but we're caveman. Like we haven't evolved as much as we think. So we want clicks, we want it fast, we want it now, and that just goes into millennial and Gen Z culture. And so I want to call out my generation and a little bit of the generation below me, but especially mine. A lot of this is because of the companies wouldn't do this and have evolved this way. Intelligence is different. I'll give it credit. Agencies, it's a little, under the table. But on the table, we created this by needing clicks all the time, by wanting everything fast, by wanting an enemy, by wanting to be a part of the community, by when it's us versus them, by our own selfishness as far as what's even the right word, like needing leisure, I guess, or spoil. I don't know, but like how we can get almost anything at any time now. Um, that level of access, I think, and like the radicalization of needing those clicks, needing everything fast, and the culture itself. I mean, the culture, and I guess a part of it's because of the technology, but a lot of my culture, I would say, created that we would be ignorant as a generation to not say we helped fan the flames of this radicalization to this point. So those are my thoughts. Yeah, that's mainly what I wanted to get into. I don't really have much else to say. I know I was a little fiery in this video, but why not? So I'll be up. Oh, one last thing to close it out. So I'll be uploading a lot more because my degree was in pre-World War One U.S. history, and World War One and World War Two. A lot of Americans don't like to admit this, but a lot of them know. We're a military country. Like we had put like it's funny, the East Asia, China, and the U.S. on paper are actually very different. So on paper, China wants to be an imperial number one, but instead they're actually very like communal. They're more about the community than the individual. On the West, we act like we want to be this, and this perfect democracy, but our country has always thrived most with conflict. That's when we do our best work. That's when we adapt. That's when we innovate, and that's not good. I'm not saying yay, yay, we get to innovate or adapt. I'm just saying factually, historically, that's when America changes, really, or evolves, I guess is the right word. That's when America evolves. And I will say, since World War One and Two, America became easily the number one after World War Two. So again, I'd say this is the first time America's had some heat in them, on like I would say a historic level. Yeah, I sound like such a nerd, but on a historic level, Americans are finally have their spine back. How do you, and for anyone who ever listens to this, which God forbid, but if anyone ever listens to this, how do we want to be remembered as a generation? How do we want to be remembered when we take over this legacy power? Do we want to be remembered as the generation that just continued the cold, whatever you want to call it, the broken two-party system that enabled tribalism, that enabled hate? Here's what pisses me off. It's not even like really like it's stupid hate. That's what I want to say. It's stupid hate. The bullets on the casing with the emojis and the little sayings, oh, if you see this, you're gay, LMAO. That was a culture death for millennials. Like straight up. And maybe Gen Z will feel this. And Gen Z already thinks millennials are weird. But this is the end for millennials being cool. Millennials are no longer cool. It is not cool at all to put ha ha funny funny. It's not cool. It's also not cool to be, thinking Nazis weren't didn't do the Holocaust, in my opinion. So, if you want to talk numbers, that's one thing, but to totally deny this is history. So, yeah, the culture's completely changed. And so, to finish this in closing, because I know I titled this like legacy and comedians are dying, but it's over, man. It's done. And I'm kind of excited. The whole culture is shifting. Um, and I hope it turns out good. What scares me is Gen Z's got some fucking oomph to them. I thought they were the iPad kids. Apparently, iPad kids are the one under them. But Gen Z's got some fucking fire under their ass. I was talking to my little brother, and he was. I was like, man, I didn't know you had it in you. Like, we're the tech generation. Like what caused it? And he's like, oh, I don't know. We were born in a recession. Then Trump came along. Then COVID happened and now we're here. And I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it totally makes sense why you're radicalized. So they have, and he's not political at all, but like his generation, he's like, yeah, I can totally see it. So the whole culture changed. Like Gen Z, congratulations, you are now officially the cool power. Again, millennials are going to hold a lot of the hard power just because that's how generational power balances go. But Gen Z, y'all are driving the culture now, man. I hope it works out because millennials, it's a sign of the times for us. And like when I heard that there was emojis and all this bullshit on the bullet casings, I think we all kind of cringed a little. Like it's sad, but we also cringed a little bit because not only is it like a civil war, like civil war was over slavery, and for how bad it was, like it wasn't economic, like it was like kind of like there were reasons. But then you got this, you got people saying, and I'm actually, I know people in the LGBTQ plus. I actually know the whole thing. LGBTQIASS plus. I had to learn that one day for like years back, a couple of years back, not in the business world. But they feel like they're not being heard. They feel like they're scared. They feel like everyone's out to get them. And I won't get into this video right now, but in another video, I'm going to go into what I think would be a good political party for both sides to find middle ground. And I'm going to talk about LGBTQ ISS plus. But I want to say that how any action is made in America is through policy. And that's just a fact. And that's because we live and die by the Constitution. So that's why violence, even though violence is sometimes necessary, I will admit. Luckily, we live in a society where, unless things get desperately bad, I'm talking like people are starved, like 15% of the population is starving. It's like it, we don't need to resort to violence. So yeah, I wanted to make this video. I hope everyone's having a good weekend. I am doing pretty good. About to see Demon Slayer tonight, but again, I'll be uploading a little more. One of the vacuums is media, so who knows? Maybe I can fucking do something here. I'm not, this is definitely like a hobby to me at this point for the next few years. But yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of thoughts. And pre World War One, I keep having to say this. Sorry, pre World War One was tough, man. Like you got the Gilded Age, but put the Gilded Age aside, our whole entire history for the average person, not the founding fathers, not the president, but for the average person, was tough before World War One. Oh, dude, people had to fight for their, I mean, really for their food back then, but for their livelihood. Like it was very chaotic, and this ties in full circle to there's a very controversial guy named Charles Murray. He's a top I think it's a yeah, he's a socioeconomics. He talks about macro trends in society. He's most infamously known for the book The Bell Curve that goes over IQ, and it's really good. I haven't read it, but apparently it's like scientifically good. But what it's infamous for is he includes race there, and so he's been like accused, I guess is the right word, of being a eugenist and racism. But he lists the data there, and it's actually like it brings up some fucking questions, and it's very complicated, is what I'm trying to say. But one of the other things he gets into is culturally. And culturally, he says that we're going to become more medieval and barbaric. And that doesn't mean people are going to be gunning and killing each other in the streets, but it does mean about how, like, when you think of broad terms in society, like, even when you bring up really what there are is, if anyone's ever played Sim City, there's medical education, information, supply chain, all of those foundational things for society. Well, how those act are going to be really, I see it. I come from the business world, so I see it on a business level, but it's going to be every aspect of life is going to radically evolve from the tech we've worked on the last 10 years. So, like, I can't get into what I specifically do for work, but like when you think of, all right, here's an easy one. When you think of construction, like it's a very tedious process of you need manpower. Anyways, I'm losing my thought, but yeah, I ranted at the end there. But yeah, I'm gonna clip the end here. So I'm calling it. I'll stop it at a certain point. See ya.